this whole like sell them 2 tickets thing. I don't think they should be allowed on. You know, like on a fucking on a ride in an amusement park, you have to be yay tall, and sometimes you know if the fucking safety harness doesn't fit, they won't let you ride it. I think the airplane should be the same way. I think the fat people should get off.
You guys remember that case about that kid that died that fell off that roller coaster?
Yes, because
that boy was huge, man. What do you mean sad? That boy was huge. He should have never been on.
Really sad though.
Yeah, he should have never been on that fucking roller coaster. He should have never been on there.
Yeah, I agree.
He should have never been on.
Yeah, but
imagine knowing that you're heavy enough to tilt a fucking plane. Imagine like how would you look at yourself the next day afterwards like, damn, I fucking tilted a plane.
that poor boy though, he had, apparently he was kind of complaining before they shot them up that he wasn't sure he felt, you know, secure. I don't know. It seemed like they kind of rushed it. I don't know if they did what they were supposed to do to check everything. And
Of course they didn't. It was an amusement park you set up from a fucking truck. Like, it wasn't like...
No. It was a year-round thing.
Was it?
Year-round. Yeah.
Oh my god, I was wrong.
No, it wasn't rinky-dink. It was like a pretty badass drop thing that shot you fucking sky high. But it was like a year-round, very, very expensive. Very expensive,
Didn't the family get like $12 million?
Hold on. In the chat, Erica Perla says it's actually healthier to be vegan, though. You should all research it before you slam it. And it protects animals. I would bet Erica would not come up on the stage and defend that position. Shout out to Edmund in the
Being vegan does not protect animals. It actually destroys the ecosystem because you're destroying the plants that the animals live in that you need to eat to survive.
It's not just that. It also doesn't help you health-wise. You're gonna get nutrient deficiencies specifically on like B12, calcium, omega-3, iron, protein. And if you go to, I'm pretty sure, matter of fact, I have it right here, National Library of Medicine, the impact of a vegan diet on many aspects of health, the overlooked side of veganism. And what do we look at the summary for? Veganism has been associated with adverse health outcomes, namely nervous, skeletal, and immune system impairment, hematological disorders, as well as mental disorders. Like, I'm so sorry, but veganism does nothing but fuck you over more.
And they take supplements where they kill the animal to get the vitamins they fucking need. They'll take fish oil.
Guys, watch that. Think, oh man, that's
You care about the post at the end, seriously.
Yeah, I thought it was all bullshit.
That's not the biggest plot hole. The biggest plot hole is why doesn't Buzz Lightyear freeze up, or why does he freeze up around humans if he doesn't think he's a toy?
And I want to know
because what he told me
where are the other 6?
In what movie?
Toy Story 3.
65 million people voted.
But what about 1 and 2, where he hadn't been told that and he still froze up?
Probably peer pressure.
You know, you mentioned Denzel Washington. I will say this. I think Denzel Washington's a great actor, but I don't think he's a great movie star. And the difference I'll tell you why. He like, if you go and look at like the budgets of his films versus the revenue that they generate, and then go after like anybody else that you would mention that is of the same caliber of an actor, and he just doesn't make money. Like, his films don't make a lot of money. And the bottom line is, people respect his work, but you don't see Denzel in a movie and go, oh, I gotta go watch that.
That's fair.
Just don't.
Equalizer, John Q.
Equalizer, interestingly enough, the Equalizer films are like his top grossing shit.
I've never seen him.
Man on Fire? Hello?
Oh god, I love Man on Fire. Oh,
Yeah,
Man on Fire.
good. Listen, good movie, great performance, not a lot of revenue.
Here's his biggest shows, or his biggest stars by revenue. Number 1 was his role in American Gangster. 2, Safe House. 3, Philadelphia. 4, The Pelican Brief. 5 was Equalizer. 6 was Inside Man. 7 was Deja Vu. 8 is Unstoppable. 9 is Flight. 10 is Crimson Tide.
I'm surprised Manchurian Candidate wasn't on there, but...
Oh yeah.
Actually, that's a remake of a Frank Sinatra movie, and the remake sucks. If you guys want to see a good movie about Manchurian Candidate, you should see the one with Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, Man on Fire was number 16 for him.
You're just racist, bro.
Well, I mean, that's what people say, but like, look, how can I be racist? I'm the white guy.
And Pocket's Manchurian Candidate was 21.
Oh, that's so sad.
It did 96 million on that one compared to his number one, which did 267 million in American Games.
His best acting performance is Malcolm X.
Let me see where that was. Malcolm X is... Damn, I'm scrolling for a while. Oh, it's number 24, 48 million.
Wait, where was Training Day?
Which one?
Training Day?
18, 105 million.
What about the movie Flight? What about the movie Flight?
Flight,
Yeah.
number 9, 162 million.
Heck yeah, that was a great movie.
But again, I give him all the credit in the world. I think he's a great actor. I think he's one of the better actors of our generation, but I don't think he's a great movie star. I think, you know, I can name guys that bury those revenue numbers that are not anywhere near as good of an actor. Like here's the example, the difference, right? Go pull up the revenue numbers for Tom Cruise movies, and I think we would all agree that Denzel's a better actor than Tom Cruise, but Tom Cruise is a much bigger movie star.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, it's because of the kind of movies he's in, and also I feel like, what's that guy's name? What did you mention? Tom Cruise. Oh, he's like really sexy. I feel like Denzel is really handsome and like regal, but Tom Cruise is like jumping off of.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is daddy, man.
And he has long hair, and like it doesn't.
Yeah, so you're saying Tom Cruise can get it?
Yes.
I mean, if you think about it in a sense, Lawrence Fishburne has more movies that he's grossed way more than the Denzel Washington, but we wouldn't say Lawrence Fishburne's a better actor than Denzel Washington.
Wow.
No, well, this is why you separate, and you also have to be the lead, because you can look at Samuel L. Jackson, and if you count the Star Wars movies and you count the Marvel movies, his revenue, I think, is number one. If there's anybody above him, it would probably be maybe somebody like Harrison Ford. But I would imagine Samuel L. Jackson's very near the fucking top of revenue generation. But if you start saying, okay, what about the movies where he was the lead, it changes the story.
I mean, I still think Lawrence had a pretty important part inside The Matrix, though.
Yeah, but he wasn't the star.
That's fair. He was Keanu, but let me see. You want to?
Keanu Reeves.
Roger, you said you want to talk
Yes,
Cruise's
he's
numbers?
hot too.
Keanu Reeves.
Let's go side by.
I'll be his pitbull all day.
Let's go side by side numbers of the top 10 films revenue generation from Tom Cruise compared to Jim.
And
Okay, 1 second.
by the way, the new Mission Impossible sucked.
The top 10 comparison for both of them is, alright, number 1 for Tom Cruise is Mission Impossible Fallout with 727 million. Number 1 for Denzel is American Gangster with 267 million. Number 2 for Tom Cruise is 695 million on Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Number 2 for Denzel is 208 million on Safe House. Number 3 for Tom is Mission Impossible Rogue Nation with 682 million. For number 3 for Denzel, it's Philadelphia with 203 million. Then number 4 for Tom Cruise is War of the Worlds with 592 million.
Oh yeah.
For number 4 for Denzel, The Pelican.
Wait, where's Maverick?
195.
Where's Maverick at?
That's so sad.
Maverick is at. Let me see.
Are you looking at global or domestic totals?
I'm going off IMDb's totals of what they have here.
Is it global or domestic?
Let me double check.
Yeah,
Worldwide performance.
That's the first Top Gun is among us.
Yeah, I'll just say this.
Top Gun is at number 13.
You could take Tom Cruise, you could take the films that he made with Mission Impossible, and I would bet that the revenue just from that series alone is more revenue than all of Denzel's movies.
No, you're correct in that. You're correct. Because he's made about almost $2 billion alone off of the Mission Impossible series in revenue. But if you go to the ones you were looking for Top Gun is his number 13, which is $354 million, which is still more than Denzel's number 1. Actually, to put it in perspective, the number 1 movie from Denzel was $267 million, American Gangster, and for Tom to match that, his role would be his role in The Firm, which got him $270 million, got him more money in revenue than Denzel's role in American Gangster. So Jerry Maguire, The Firm, Oblivion, Austin Powers, and Goldmember, all of those did more revenue than American Gangster did for Denzel.
That's so sad.
Does there any reparations for it?
Reparation.
Yeah.
Is there any other side-by-sides you need, Roger?
How about this? Can you look up who's the top money getter? I'm gonna guess it's Samuel L., but maybe there's somebody that I'm forgetting.
Top movie actor revenue. List of highest grossing actors. Number 1, Samuel L. Jackson. Number 2, Scarlett Johansson. Number 3, Robert Downey Jr.
Basically, everybody that's in the Marvel movies are going to round out the top 10.
Number 4, Zoe Saldana. Number 5, Chris Pratt. Number 6, Chris Evans. Number 7, Tom Cruise. Number 8, Vin Diesel. Number 9, Chris Hemsworth. Number 10, Bradley Cooper.
Got it.
And if we're talking all roles, then Stan Lee becomes number 1.
So check this out. So here's what's interesting is if you go down that list, Bradley Cooper, he was in Guardians of the Galaxy, so he's part of Marvel.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel, same thing. And Vin Diesel also has the Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah.
The only person that's not in the Marvel ecosystem that's in that list is Tom Cruise. Amazing.
Yeah, and if you go to the list that includes cameos and voice acting, you get number 1, Stan Lee. Number 2, Samuel L. Jackson. Number 3, John Ratzenberger. Number 4, Frank Welker. Number 5, Bob Bergen. 6, Chris Pratt. 7, Zoe Saldana. 8, Scarlett Johansson. 9, Robert Downey Jr. 10, Andy Serkis. 11, Benedict Cumberbatch. 12, Alan Tudyk. 13, Warwick Davis. 14, Vin Diesel. 15, Jon Favreau. 16, Dwayne Johnson. 17, Chris Evans. 18, Idris Elba. 19, Bradley Cooper. And 20, Tom Cruise.
Yeah, shout out to Warwick Davis for making the list. I didn't know he was booked and busy like
Same.
That's accounting for his voice acting roles as well, and cameos.
right.
Am I a hater? I say I'm not really a big fan of Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
She's a very attractive white woman. Like, they don't look like that in real life.
They don't make white women like Scarlett Johansson
Not in
anymore.
real life. Not like, I'm telling you, like, you go to your average Circasian. They do not look like that.
And if we take out everybody post 2000, so up until 2000, number 1 was Clark Gable, 2 was John Wayne, 3 was Bing Crosby, 4 was James Stewart, 5 Cary Grant, 6 Spencer Tracy, 7 Gary Cooper, 8 Mickey Rooney, 9 Harrison Ford, 10 Gregory Peck.
Look at this. I took out all of the franchise movies, and said I want to see only the leading actor, the star of the show, who is the most grossing. I got is Morgan Freeman. It says cumulative box office, non-franchise, and main star 1-to-1. The main star, Driving Miss Daisy, Deep Impact, and The Bucket List. For Shaft, Snakes on a Plane, and A Time to Kill. Number 3, John C. Reilly, Chicago, Walk Hard, and Step Brothers. Yeah, those are the 3. That's interesting. I wouldn't have guessed those.
Let me ask you this.
I'm still shook that Jim Carrey is not any of those.
And Keanu's not on any of those lists either. That's crazy.
Yeah, Keanu's weird. He's he had one good movie and then you got to make sequels that were terrible.
No, you got John Wick too.
Yeah. Look, John Wick 2 and 3 are better than the sequels to The Matrix, but you wouldn't put John Wick up against Matrix.
No, that's I'll give that. That's fair.
Wait, Keanu Reeves is in that movie?
Which
Keanu Reeves is John Wick.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Pandora, where you been, girl?
Pandora, that is what he's known for.
I did not know that.
That is not what he's known for. Come on.
What is he known for, Roger?
I'll tell you, he was known for at first for Bill and Ted's, then it was for Point Break, then it was Speed.
Oh, yeah, The Matrix.
Oh yes.
And then Matrix. I mean, that's it. And now everybody says, "Oh, what a nice guy he is." Like that's the other
What's
thing.
funny is that even if we count in Chapter 3, John Wick, and Chapter 2, his role in Speed got more money than both of those.
Wow.
I like how
Shit.
black his hair is.
Let me tell you the 4 and 5.
Ladies, wait a minute,
Hold on,
ladies. I met Keanu. I spent the money 2 or 3 years ago when his band went on tour, when they reunited, and his band Dog Star went on tour. I drove the 2.5 hours from Chicago, Indianapolis. No, it wasn't Indianapolis. I forget what city it was, but it was in Indiana. And I paid those VIP tickets. I think I paid $700 total. I said, I'm going to meet my man. And I was so nervous, I couldn't even talk to him. I just said hi. He said, hi, ma'am. Shook my hand. We took a picture and signed an autograph. I couldn't even talk.
Hey, that's more words spoken to Keanu Reeves than we ever have.
Well, I know his first cousin. She emails me because I met her at South by Southwest. She has a virtual reality company.
Yes. Yes.
IP. She's really hot too. So.
All right, I want to tell you guys number 4 and 5. 4 is Steve Buscemi, and 5 is Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Steve Buscemi, I'm not surprised on.
Yeah.
God, I don't even know who that is.
Oh
Mr.
shit.
Mr.
Yeah,
Pink.
yeah, you do. He's got the big eyes. That's for Fargo, The Big Lebowski, and Ghost World. Ghost World. Wow.
I haven't seen any of those.
I've seen all of them. They're gone.
What's kind of crazy is that Keanu's role in voice acting for Toy Story made him more money than the Matrix series.
Who was it Woody?
Toy Story.
No, he played like a motorcycle dude.
It was. Duke Camoon.
Oh, the motorcycle dude that won Barbie, yeah.
He also just voiced the villain in the latest Sonic.
Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
So, Pockets, you should go as a homework assignment. Go watch Reservoir Dogs.
As I've heard, it comes off like shaking with your right and moving with your left.
Sure, and that's a totally fair question.
My perception?
Yeah, that's a totally fair question. And the first thing I'm going to say to that is there are a ton of people in Israel who are very anti the settlement movement. But perhaps more importantly, never mind the people, you got to remember that Israel is a democracy. And so over the course of its history, from 48 till the present, there's been loads of different leaders, as opposed to, in Palestine where you've had Arafat and Abbas and then Hamas, and that's basically been it. There's been leaders of every political persuasion. It's a little bit like the U.S., where, someone's not doing so hot, the other political party can get in. So at various points in time, you've had, hawkish leaders, and I think it's certainly fair to say that Netanyahu is a hawkish leader, but you've also had dovish leaders, the likes of Shimon Peres, Yitzhak Rabin, Ehud Olmert, who have been much more on the, let's give them, let's get this deal done, and let's do a land for peace deal. And by the way, it's amazing because they're Zionists, and yet they're willing to give up land. So that doesn't make sense because they're supposed to be expansionists. But nevertheless, numerous Israeli leaders have had that stance. And so depending on which Israeli leader is in power is how you've seen the treatment of the settlements. In cases like Netanyahu's, there's no doubt that they're using it as leverage. They're like, you know what? You don't want to do a peace deal? Fine, we're going to keep on building settlements. And that's a very hawkish approach. I'm not saying I agree with it, but it's a very hawkish approach. And there's other leaders that would say, at various times saying, quit building settlements. It's not going to get us to where we need to go in a two-state solution. It just depends on what year you're talking about, is the answer to your question.
So really, there's a split in the population and leadership and how it should be handled, essentially.
Yes.
Not everybody agrees.
And just like the U.S., if a leader does not such a good job, then they get kicked out. and they can be outvoted. And so it's conceivable that the next leader of Israel could be very, very dovish. Who knows?
What do you make of the criticism itself?
I think
do you think it's a valid criticism for people to point out and go, hey,
yes.
This really doesn't seem fair?
Of all the criticisms of Israel, I think it's the fairest, because all of the two-state solution plans that have been offered, and again, I just want to stress that if you look those up, Israel's on board, and it's pretty much Palestine, despite them claiming that they're suffering, and there's definitely suffering. Palestine has failed because of a lack of leadership. 95% should be good enough if your people are starving and victims of genocide, as they say they are. 95% of the land, that should be good enough to strike a deal. But nevertheless, my point is that, yes, I think the settlements is probably something that is a point of contention for good reason, because whenever there's been peace plans offered, generally speaking, a lot of the areas that have been offered have been in those same lands that are being settled. So you can certainly argue it's counterproductive. But I think where the frustration lies is that there hasn't been quick enough progress. There hasn't been enough people coming to the table on the Palestinian side where it looks like something's imminent to prevent Israel from building there, because Israel is tiny. We're not talking Montana or Saudi Arabia or Alaska. So it's not like there's loads and loads of land to spare. And so if there's literally no movement and no suggestion of peace coming anytime soon, they're like, well, what the hell? Why don't we build here? Now, again, I don't think it's right.
No, I hear you on that. And for me, that's always been my main kind of steady criticism. It doesn't seem like a way to do diplomacy.
I agree with that.
On one hand that you want a two-state solution, then argue with your left hand that that's not in fact what you want. And that, I will grant you, that does seem like something, as you've explained it to me, that differs in Israeli politics between, depending on the year you have. That's always seemed to be, to me, the fairest criticism, that it's very hard to believe. We say we can't negotiate with the Hamas leaders, but it's also hard to negotiate with a leader who doesn't keep promises, right? It makes me wonder as an American, who are the partners to negotiate with? Not saying that the state of Israel is not the entity used to negotiate. More noting that if you're on the opposite side of that, and you're looking at the Israelis saying they want a two-state solution, yet they're settling, I can understand how that would have, to say, the very least, a rotten taste in people's mouths. And I appreciate you being honest about it. To be frank, I was not sure whether that was a valid criticism.
I think of course it is. I think it is, but I also think that you would find that the settlements would stop pretty quick if there was a legitimate partner on the Palestinian side saying, yes, we are willing to make this stop. And that is the thing that has always baffled me the most. And I will land my plane after this one sentence. If you have the opinion that genocide is taking place and there's people starving and all these sorts of things, I don't understand why you focus on the minutia of, we need this 0.5% more of land versus this 0.5% more of land. Your obligation as a leader is to make that horrible situation stop. And so when you have peace offerings, you take them. Because the peace offerings mean you're no longer under the yoke of Israel. You're no longer worrying about whether your people can be fed. And if you're getting a little bit less than you thought, but a bunch of people don't die, in your opinion, you think you're saving lives, then you do it.
That's why you
and I don't see that. I don't see that enthusiasm.
That's why you never make a good. That's why you would never make a good Hamas leader. Let's go to Dean.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, Dean. If you could, if you don't mind my particular perspective, if you could focus in on that settlements issue. I know you like to read a lot about it. If I recall correctly, you have family in the region. So I appreciate your kind of input on that. And then a question I would have for you, noting your particular perspective. If you could wave a magic wand and people had a sales pitch for this to go to TV consultants and people like that, get the cause on TV kind of thing, what would you say? And obviously, I don't want to hear like blow people up, as you might imagine. I don't think you would say that, but I'm kind of curious, like, what your 60-second sales pitch would be.
Yeah, so a couple things, just correction. No family or people in the region. A friend, actually. That's the extent. I think the settler issue, I think the paradox, to sort of, at least in rhetoric, talk about a two-state solution while encouraging settlers. The paradox is solved by they don't want a two-state solution. And when I say that, it's Netanyahu is evident. Ben-Gvir, who's a prominent settler, he encourages it. He speaks at conferences in the region, encouraging settlements. He's the security minister of the administration. The stuff isn't difficult calculus. It's quite simple. I think to the broader point, if I could just touch on something Mark was saying, and he seemingly omitted. Yitzhak Rabin, I think the closest they've been in the last 30-something odd years, 40 years, has been the Oslo Accords. Arafat was down, circa 1993, Camp David, Arafat, Rabin. What happened? It wasn't the Palestinians. It was the Israelis. What happened to Rabin? A radical Zionist assassinated him. Wasn't a Palestinian, right? It was an Israeli. It's always curious how these I don't know if the brother's Israeli, but the proponents for, that it's all the Palestinians' fault that there's no peace in the region. They seemingly always omit this gleaming historical tragedy.
I'm not omitting that at all. In fact, there is a annual festival around here.
Shut the fuck up. Let somebody else talk. 20 minutes. Furthermore, if we look more into that, what did Yitzhak Rabin's wife say? Who did she blame for the assassination of her husband? Ding, ding, ding. War-mongering, blood-lustful Netanyahu. She blamed him for radicalizing Israel and then cultivating the climate for this type of thing to emerge. This is Yitzhak Rabin's wife. She blames Netanyahu indirectly. She's on record saying this.
But that's kind of crazy to use that, don't you think, Dean? Like somebody's wife who's very upset blames one man for radicalizing a group of people that there's millions of them in the country who believe the same thing. It's like blaming Trump for,
No. Well,
January 6th.
It's a truth claim. Either it's true or false. She's saying, yeah, I think there's credence to it.
You think that there's something as simple as true or false?
Again, I'm just citing what she said, and I think there's merit to it, because ever since Netanyahu has exhibited this type of radical zeal, right? We see he is not interested in a two-state solution. He's never been. Now,
I agree.
Talking about, okay, so then it would make sense what she's saying, right? When we talk about this notion of Zionism, I'm not against Zionism. Israel deserves its homeland and so forth. My problem is what I would, qualify as radical Zionism, where they talk about a greater Israel, or to ever sort of expanding notion of your quote-unquote homeland. Some hearken towards the Bible, where it talks about the rivers in Egypt to the Euphrates. There are some Zionists, that is their homeland. They look at the Bible as their reference. They want Israel to encompass all of that. This is lunacy. But this is the type of, this Ben-Gvir, he subscribes to this. And he's part of the Netanyahu government. As Farad has said, is the most radical the most right-wing government in Israeli history, right? So when we see all this, and I just want to touch on the title real quick, does the IDF have any rules? I mean, this is how I look at it. Hamas is a terrorist organization, Islamic Jihad, And the IDF are a state-sponsored terrorist organization. No bones about it. No bones about it. And the quiet part's being said out loud when soldiers are coming forth and saying, we were told to shoot hungry, starving Palestinians in a food line. You don't say. I mean, we've known this for however long, anyone that's objectively looked into this conflict, right? So I just sit back and I listen to people try to gaslight the situation, but it is what it is. Morality, the entire region, both sides are morally depraved. And I think we need to be honest about that. And what does that produce in a conflict? They're all terrorists. They're all terrorists. So that's a scary proposition, but that's what we're dealing with. And this is nothing new, whether it's the IDF using white phosphorus years ago on Palestinians, whether it's, but the fish rots from the head down. When Netanyahu posts October 7th, references the Amaleks and how God told them to be genocided, what do you expect? So anyone that was...
I'd probably say the same thing, to be honest.
Ooh, no problem. But you can't the same... Hold on. But then no one can in the same breath can deny that this isn't a state-sponsored terrorist organization. Right now, we have this issue of the hostages, right? No one talks about the IDF. They have thousands of, according to international law, hostages. They have thousands of Palestinians, some minors, that they are holding under the guise of administrative detention, where there's no sort of judicial reprieve, right? But this is cool because it's Israel. They have thousands.
This is the dumb move. You talk for like 6 minutes. This is the dumb move by the Hamas agents. Hold on, this is directly the point. This is you can respond to it. This is the idiocy of paragliding into a music festival and killing and raiding hundreds of people, right? The other side that you're going to is 1,000 million times more powerful than you, and now they have your hostage. It's not like Israel went in and murdered in broad daylight. You could say they've done atrocities, all the things you're about to say, you could say that, but they didn't go and say, I'm gonna fuck your women and kill you, and then expect that Israel wouldn't hold hostages. You understand the difference? It's a dumb move. I'm sorry,
I'm not a proponent or an apologist for Hamas. Again, I unequivocally denounce them as a terrorist organization, but I do the same for the IDF. That's my point. All I'm saying is one side, both sides try to appeal to some moral sort of ethos, if you will, where it's apparent that it's vacant in the region, right? All I'm saying is I just appeal to people to sort of remove the scales from their eyes, look at the situation for what it is, don't buy into the sort of rhetoric that Mark tries to sort of espouse.
Yeah, I get that. But it's hard to say that they're equal, even though you're right, and they both have moral action. It's hard to say they're equal.
No, they're not equal, because if we're looking at the death toll of civilians, Israel's batting somewhere around 60,000 versus 1,200 a la October 7th. So no, it's not equal. The state-sponsored terrorists that are using all types of military-grade armaments, they're decimating a population under the guise they have to eradicate 50,000 quote-unquote Hamas members. Guess what? The million plus that are subject to that siege, oh well, right? If we got to starve 1.2 million of you to, flush out the 50,000 rats, so be it. If approximately half those are children, oh well. So yeah, you're right. It's not what Israel's doing is far more devastating.
But what if Hamas gave a shit about their people, right? What if?
You're not getting.
Obviously.
That's not my argument here.
But then there would be a lot more dead, right?
Say that again.
Let's say Hamas gave a shit about their people. Right?
I'm not arguing they do. That's a straw man. I'm not arguing they do.
No, I'm just giving it misogyny. It's a hypothetical.
It is. I've never said Ahmad. When I say
I
that,
didn't say you did. This whole
Okay,
hypothetical
so
has
that's not
nothing to
my-
do with what you said.
Right.
That's
You're just
not-
adding something like that he didn't say. Which
Yeah,
is
so
like,
that's
not
nothing
the
to do
most
with
constructive thing to say.
Because I'm saying it.
What he
I'm
did.
sorry, Rob. Was I talking?
You're just like ruining the convo of like doing something less. Like be constructive, not
No,
like say
no.
something
You
kind of-
guys are ruining the convo by equating two different things that are not equal in any
I'm
way.
gonna land here, if I may.
That's what's ruining the conversation. This is the thing that idiots and Luddites talk about, calling these two situations equal.
Douglas Trump will shut the fuck up and let him speak. Oh, thank you. We further see Netanyahu sort of bloodlusting in this quote unquote preventative attack on Iran. He's a pariah. He's toxic. I hope the Israelis do away with him, whether it's in their corruption trial or the next vote in the Knesset, and they get the 2 or 3 votes necessary to dissolve the parliament, and they can have another vote and actually have him bags packed, and hopefully he ends up in jail. But anyway, I like.
You saying that it's not equivalent because there's been more deaths on the Palestinian side is not a very good argument. During World War II, a hell of a lot more Nazis died than Allies. It didn't mean that the Nazis were right.
You know, it's something like, 4 million Germans died, maybe 5, something like that. You stack both the Holocaust, where 11 million people were butchered, on top of war dead, and you get to something like 16.5 or 17 million war dead. I mean, they count the Holocaust in the war dead figures. And that's ridiculous. The Russians lost tons of people. I don't know if y'all knew this, but if we dropped the bomb, partially to let the Soviets know we had it, but also the Soviets were tying down 3 80,000-man Japanese armies on the Chinese mainland. And the Japanese wanted to surrender to the Americans instead of surrender to the Russians. At least as the story goes. I'll find the New York Times article, but it's a fascinating thing, in particular when noting the use of the atomic bombs as a signal to let the Soviets know we had it, which means that the calculation by the Joint Chiefs on dropping the bomb was not purely a battle decision, which is interesting in and of itself.
Yeah, to Mark's point, that's a false equivalence. I mean, during that war, one side had moral standing, right? So it's not just a question of weighing the conflict on death toll. What I'm saying here is you have a state-sponsored terrorist organization, the IDF. They're trying to eradicate 50,000 Hamas terrorists, and they're collectively punishing 1.2 million Palestinians. Period.
Well, the United States disagrees with you that they're a state-sponsored organization, so I'm very happy, terrorist organizations, I'm very happy to live in this country and have those leaders as opposed to your feeling. But you're entitled to your opinion. I just disagree that they're a state-sponsored terrorist organization, and most of the Western world agree.
Yeah, so in 2020, I think it was last year, December, I'll post in the chat, when the Biden administration was assessing sending military aid armaments to the IDF, Biden, quote unquote, speaks about, let me get the precise quote, I'm going to paraphrase here. He says the IDF were indiscriminately bombing the Palestinians. This is what Biden says.
If Biden said that, then he probably wouldn't have kept on passing him over weapons if they felt.
That's not, well, he said it, so we know he said it. Now we can talk about the political pressure that politicians on both sides of the aisle succumb to, and this is only being elucidated with the Ted Cruz and this pushback against AIPAC and this broader dialogue that I'm very, encouraged to see for the first time in my life, that there is a vocal dialogue criticizing AIPAC and the Israeli lobby and their interest in how much they have a stranglehold on our politicians, on our government. So doesn't necessarily appeal to logic that he can say that and still outfit the military aid. It is what it is. That we're in a precarious situation when we have politicians that say, well, in Sunday school, I was told you got to support Israel because God said so. I'm paraphrasing. That's what we're up against. So one can logically concede with that type of sort of narrative abound that, they're indiscriminately bombing these people. But you know what? My religious sensibilities that were imbued upon me as a child said, if you bless them, you shall be blessed, and if you curse them, you'll be cursed. So that's sort of a logical conundrum for them to figure out, but these two things can be true.
Well, Dean, it's also not particularly logical for you to say that AIPAC controls the U.S. government when the Israelis Jewish people make up about 3% of the U.S. and 0.2% of the world. 3% of the U.S. is not enough to, frankly, move the needle in any way in a democratic society. No one's coveting the Jewish vote because 3% is not going to win them anything. So to suggest that a population with a pack with representing a demographic that small has somehow got a stranglehold, to use your word, on the American government, it just doesn't add up. You can think that, but
I don't know how they in fact have a stranglehold. How do they make people make decisions?
Excuse me?
Quick question.
If AIPAC, hold on, I want to stay on this. If AIPAC decides things for the American government, I'm curious, how does AIPAC make people make decisions?
So a couple things.
Yeah, and Marshall, can I, since I am AIPAC, I'm happy to talk.
Yeah, Abby, jump in, please.
Yeah,
explain it.
I'm absolutely happy to talk about it. So first of all, there's so much bullshit that I'm hearing on here, and I don't even know what I want to respond to first. But AIPAC is a lobby organization, and I think you should all Google the most powerful lobbies financially in the United States, because it ain't even close to the top. You can get through all the pharmaceuticals, all the insurance companies, the realtors, AARP. We can go through the list, the teachers unions. AIPAC is way down in terms of how much money is generated and put into campaigns. So that we deal with that fallacy. But with respect to also the numbers that I'm hearing and that come out of the Hamas health ministry, and I say that over and over.
For 2 seconds, because I looked this up. I just want to.
It's not even close. I know what was raised in millions, and
so
look at lobby. First of all, make sure everyone understands that we have the right to lobby under our First Amendment and the power to petition our government. That's embedded in our Constitution. And there is nothing wrong with lobbying unless you want to change the First Amendment. That's the first thing. Second thing, take a look at the most powerful lobby in the United States, and go through the list. We've got realtors, we have insurance companies.
So I'm looking at it now, and it comes out of Bloomberg Government, which is what's posted at the top of the room. Key developments that shape lobbying in 2024: technical regulation, healthcare, rulemaking surge. Top federal lobbying firms: Brownstein, Hyatt, Faber and Schreck. Revenue $67.9 million. Aiken, Gump, Strauss, Howard, and Feld.
Law firms, so.
They are law firms. They said they're top lobbying firms.
Yeah,
With the top of the room.
Yeah, but they represent. Brownstein. I happen to know the Brownstein firm pretty well because they have an office here. They represent the gaming industry too. So
the key issues driving lobbying today.
Look at money, Marshall. Look at the wealthiest and the most money going into Congress. And again, remember the other thing that people don't understand is that AIPAC only lobbies Congress, does not lobby the executive branch. I repeat, they only lobby Congress, the House and the Senate. They do not lobby the executive branch of government.
So what about Kamala Harris? Like, she's a huge AIPAC and Israeli advocate.
Kamala Harris, when she was a senator, is different than Kamala Harris when she was a vice president. Again, they do the congressional side of our government in terms of lobbying. There are lots of, you want to pick on the Jews, we can pick on lots of different groups, but there are lobbyists that lobby or pretty much, raise money into presidential campaigns. But AIPAC is not one of them. If you want to find a Jewish one, I mean, there's lots of them. There's the the Democrats have one, the Republicans have one, the Asian community has one, the Greek community has one, the Muslim community has one.
The Italian community's got one.
I mean, let's go through the ethnicities. NAACP lobbies. I mean.
So my point got hijacked. If I could, and I thank you, listen, Abby, but what I was saying, and I brought up Ted Cruz for a reason. Number one, I didn't say there was anything wrong with lobbying.
Thank you, because it's in our constitution. I mean, it's embedded in our.
Something is wrong with lobbying. That should be illegal.
Do you have the right to petition your government? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is something that bugs me, and Marshall will tell you. Everyone should go log on to the U.S. Constitution Center out of Philadelphia and look at the seminars they do, and there's one on lobbying. They'll teach you all about how we have the right to petition our government.
It's called the National Constitution Center, and their mission statement is the only institution funded by Congress to disseminate information about the Constitution on a nonpartisan basis. So they have Democrats and Republicans who are their honorary chairs. It's run by a gentleman named Jeffrey Rosen, and you can get it on the App Store, National Constitution Center.
They do something on lobbying.
And it's very good. Again, lobbying, as Abby said, is really only people petitioning their government. If we want to change that, then I guess we could. I would prefer not to have my ability to petition my government. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to go to Capitol Hill and do that unless there's a very specific reason, because you can influence local more than national. But the ability to do that, I think, is important.
But you don't see an issue when it goes to the highest bidder, knowing that we have a wealth inequality issue in this country, and knowing
I think one of the most important things we're talking about politics and this kind of stuff, in particular if you're talking about campaigning, is looking at campaign finance reports. You really can't have a good grasp of what campaigns spend without looking at campaign finance reports. You can get totals, right? But you don't know whether, say, the National Realtors Association gives somebody money, or say, like, the American Bar Association, or the American Polo Association, trying to get a subsidy for all those drunken, floppy-headed women. So, like, they're all allowed to petition in that way.
So I get it, but I'm just saying I think it's corrupt when we know we have a wealth inequality issue in this country where the 1% or the top wealthy in this country, the individual few who owns billions of dollars, versus the majority who owns drastically less than that. And we don't have the dollars to lobby the way they do, despite us having issues that we would love to have placed on the forefront.
Tell them where it started with the farmers, Marshall. Like, do you know lobbying how it?
You don't actually have to. The lie in American politics today is that nationals are more important than local, and that you can make your impact in 4 years. No, you can't make it in 4 years. It's going to take over a decade. My area voted for the Democratic Party since Reconstruction, 1867 to be exact. We were not able to get that flipped into Republican area until now. The thing Americans want is it to just be solved. That's not what the founders intended. It's not what they intended at all. They intended deep power, real, genuine power, was one you had to build from the bottom up. And they used Greece and Rome as explicit examples of good governance, going by the bottom and coming to the top. And I say that to say that, yeah, if you think your impact is on the national side, the priorities are grossly misaligned. You can impact a school board election so much easier than you can impact a national senatorial or House election. And if you, for example, if you get a school board representative, you can pawn that off into getting a city councilor. You can pawn that off into getting a county councilor. You can pawn it off on getting a county judge, right? You go step by step. And going step by step does the process the right way, number one. Number two, it gives you what I call deep power, which is real, genuine power. The problem is, this takes time. Americans don't want to spend the time.